Lakers Nation, what is going on? So in today's video we got an interesting trade idea involving the Lakers and former Laker Brook Lopez. And this one actually makes a lot of sense when you look at one of the biggest questions on this roster right now. Who is going to back up Walker Kessler? According to a proposed three-team trade discussed by Heavy.com, the Lakers would bring Brook Lopez back to Los Angeles. And I'm not gonna lie, I think this is one of those moves that could be a lot more interesting than it looks on paper. So let's break it down. The proposed trade would send Brook Lopez to the Lakers. The Clippers would receive Robert Williams III along with a 2031 second-round pick. And the Blazers would receive Jared Vanderbilt and a 2031 second-round pick. So from the Lakers' perspective, the big question is simple. Would you give up Vanderbilt and 2 second-round picks to get Brook Lopez? Personally, I would seriously consider it. And the reason isn't because Brook Lopez is the same player he was years ago. He's not. He's 38 years old now and his numbers have come down. But that doesn't mean he can't help this team. The Lakers don't need Lopez to be a star. They need him to give them something they currently don't have enough of. Reliable center depth. Right now Walker Kessler is expected to be the starting center. And I really like that fit. Kessler gives the Lakers size, rim protection, rebounding, and a real defensive presence. But the problem is what happens when Kessler isn't on the floor. Kevin Looney is there. But after Looney the depth gets a lot thinner. And that's where a player like Lopez becomes interesting. Because you wouldn't have to use him the same way you use Kessler. Kessler can be your defensive anchor. Lopez can give you a completely different look. He can stretch the floor. He can play drop coverage. And he has years of experience playing in high-pressure games. And that three-point shooting is a huge part of this. Lopez was still shooting over 37% from three as recently as the 2024-25 season. That is important for a team built around Luka Doncic. Because when Luka has the ball, you want as much space around him as possible. Imagine Luka running a pick and roll with Lopez. If the defender drops, Lopez can pop out. If they stay with Lopez, Luka has more room to create. And if the defense starts overhelping on Luka, that's where Lopez can make them pay. That kind of spacing could be very valuable. Especially late in games. But here's where I think Lakers fans need to be careful. This is not a perfect trade. And I wouldn't want the Lakers to look at Brook Lopez as their answer at center. He would be a backup. That distinction is very important. You don't want to go into the season expecting a 38-year-old Lopez to carry your frontcourt. Because if Kessler goes down for an extended period of time, the Lakers could have a completely different problem. And that's why I would look at Lopez as depth and not as insurance for everything. Now let's talk about Jared Vanderbilt. This is probably the most interesting part of the trade for me. Vanderbilt has definitely shown that he can help the Lakers. His defense, energy, length, and versatility can be very useful. But his fit on this current roster is a little more complicated. The Lakers have a lot of frontcourt pieces. But they don't have many players who can actually play center consistently. And Vanderbilt isn't really a true center. So if the Lakers can turn his contract into a center who can actually space the floor, that could be a smart roster move. The other part is the financial side. The proposed deal would help the Lakers move off Vanderbilt's contract while bringing in Lopez on an expiring deal. So you're not making some massive long-term commitment to an aging center. That's something I like. Because the Lakers are already building a team around Luka. They have Kessler. They have Austin Reeves. And they have other big contracts on the books. The last thing I would want is another long-term deal that becomes a problem later. With Lopez, you're getting a veteran. A shooter. And a center. Without locking yourself into years and years of money. Now let's talk about the bigger picture. The Heavy.com article points out that the Lakers are still looking for frontcourt reinforcement. And that's really the story here. The Lakers don't just need talent. They need depth. Because this season is going to be about more than just having a great starting five. Luka Doncic is the centerpiece of this team. And if the Lakers want to maximize this window, they have to make sure the roster can survive injuries and matchup problems. You can't have your entire center rotation depend on one player staying healthy. And that's why I think a move like this is worth considering. Now would I call Brook Lopez a must-get? No. There are other options out there. And the Lakers have to be careful about giving up assets just to make a move. But if the front office believes Lopez can still give them quality minutes, I think this is a pretty logical gamble. You're not asking him to be the old Brook Lopez. You're asking him to give you 15 or 20 quality minutes. Space the floor. Protect the rim when needed. And give Kessler some breathing room. That's a much more realistic role. And honestly, that could be exactly what the Lakers need. So my final take. I would be in favor of this trade if the Lakers believe Lopez still has enough left in the tank. I wouldn't give up a major asset for him. But for Vanderbilt and second-round picks, I think it's a move worth seriously looking at. You'd be adding a veteran center. You'd be adding shooting. You'd be improving your frontcourt depth. And you'd be giving Luka Doncic another big man who can actually stretch the floor. And that last part could be the most important. Because if the Lakers can give Luka more space, more shooting, and more reliable options around him, this team could look very different when the playoffs come around. So I want to know what you guys think. Would you trade Jared Vanderbilt and 2 second-round picks to bring Brook Lopez back to the Lakers? Or do you think the Lakers should look for a younger center? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. And this was the Brook Lopez 3-team trade proposal discussed by Heavy.com. If you enjoyed the video, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe for more Lakers news and trade rumors. Lakers Nation, I'll see you in the next one.